Welcome to the Gutsy Fertility Podcast, where health empowerment meets heartfelt conversations. I'm your host, Dr. Mandy Patterson, functional naturopath and fertility expert. Each episode of the Gutsy Fertility Podcast is a journey through the most pressing health topics of our times, viewed through the lens of functional naturopathy and emotional empowerment. So get ready to get gutsy with me as we hop into today's podcast topic. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gutsy Fertility Podcast. I am super excited to bring on my partner, Dr. Jeanie Schlafly. Today, we're going to be talking about the Positivity Fertility Couples Group Coaching Program that we're going to be launching. So, Jeanie, I am so excited you're here today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. Hi, Dr. Mandy. Hi, everybody. We're super excited about this. We've been waiting to bring this to couples for a really long time, and here we are. Yay.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a labor of love. I know, like, I've birthed 6 children, but it feels like I'm birthing twins with this one.
Right. Absolutely.
So maybe triplets, maybe even. So you guys, we're here today going to discuss our program and just kind of some of the frequently asked questions that have recently come up. So we will be launching our webinar next week, which will be Tuesday, May the 7th. And then we're also going to have one on Thursday, May the 9th. To give people some different options. And we will also have the recording of that available as well if you can't come on. So Jeanie, let's talk about how can positivity fertility help couples?
Oh, my goodness. So many ways.
Yes.
I think the easiest way to explain it is we need a healthy egg and we need a healthy sperm, correct? Like the two come together, make a healthy baby, and then everyone's happy and healthy for hopefully their lifelong time here on earth. So yes, so basically we want to optimize the male and we want to optimize the female. And I think that's really special about our program is a lot of times, at least in the Western world, reproductive endocrinology doesn't look at the male. I know that from my own experience, my husband and I going through fertility challenges and going to a reproductive endocrinologist was like, did you ask my husband any questions?
Right.
Thought it was so odd.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. So for new listeners, so Dr. Jeanie was an anesthesiologist before she became a functional medicine doctor. And so from a conventional side, things are very different than the holistic arena, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very different.
Yeah, and like then you guys have had your own fertility journey, getting married later in life, and wanting babies so badly. So let's kind of talk through. I mean, you were so blessed with your son Miles when you guys, got pregnant. Let's see, is he 7 or 8 now? I've lost track.
He's 8 almost. Well, 9 in October.
Oh gosh, yeah, time is a flying. But and then you guys went through the whole experience of losing a baby, which was so hard and devastating for you. But what was your journey from there, just to fill them in? Because I know we've discussed this on past podcast episodes, but just sharing with them like your own emotional raw journey and how you went through it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right, Mandy. We met when we were older. My husband and I met when we were 40 and had a long talk. Do we want to try to have a child naturally and take the risks? And we decided, yeah. And then there was Miles, amazingly.
Yes.
We had no trouble, and he was a healthy baby born on his due date.
You were 43, right? You were
42
43.
42 when we had Miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had the same discussion and we were like, okay, yeah, let's try again. And it was not so easy that time. We worked and tried and saw an acupuncturist, and finally it was like, oh, I don't know, we'll stop going to acupuncture. And we got pregnant and we're like, okay, great. And unfortunately we lost her, Lily Rose. We lost our baby girl at about 13 and a half weeks. And that was so hard. And my heart goes out to anyone anyone that might be listening that has had a pregnancy loss, because
Yeah.
now I know. Before I didn't really understand, and now I understand the heartbreak for sure. So it took some time for healing, and part of our journey was joining a support group, which I love. That's part of our positivity fertility. We'll talk a little bit more about that
Yeah.
later, but that was very helpful in my healing and my husband's healing. And a few months later, I was like, okay, honey, I'm ready. Like, let's have a baby. And I was like, we were old before, but we are really old now. So we need some help. And we were like, let's go the Western medicine, see a reproductive endocrinologist. And then we had a whole like second phase to our fertility journey, I feel like,
Yeah.
'cause we tried the IUI route and had all our ups and downs on that. So my heart goes out to anyone that's in that right now or that has gone through it, because that's tough too. Like thinking, oh my gosh, this is the time. And then finding out that, whether the pregnancy test was negative or started my period, whatever it might be. It was like, oh, so discouraging.
It just feels so crushing, right? I mean, like when you, and especially like when you're in your 40s, like your biological clock is ticking and like you're already considered, advanced maternal age, but beyond 35, which I don't love. Because like women that are still very vibrant and like healthy and they want to have a baby, like it's almost like they're trying to put you in a wheelchair and push you into like an assisted living facility.
Right?
And I think like what I want our listeners to know is that your fertility does not fall off a cliff, right? Like
Absolutely.
many women have babies in their 40s, and I mean, our bodies are like just so amazing, like how they're designed to like heal themselves, and like how women can have babies much later than what they conventional medicine says is the age. And so
Right.
I
And
love.
everyone's different. Like you said, like, and perimenopause can happen anytime and can happen for a short period of time, long period of time. And
Yeah.
sometimes hormones can be tweaked in there. And then other times it's like, well, you probably do need to go the reproductive endocrinologist route at this point, because your body's not making enough estrogen or is not making
Yeah.
enough progesterone. However, we can help you still, because if you're not optimized to carry that baby and to be healthy as you're going through these exogenous hormones, and
Yeah.
if your husband's sperm's not healthy to help fertilize that egg, then you're going to have problems with the IVF route too.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because it's like informed consent, right? Like every single one of us like wants to know like why, like, doctors are suggesting certain things, or, providers that we're working with. And so like we are uniquely equipped as providers because we both have a conventional lens, but then we also have a functional or optimization of health lens, right? And
Absolutely. So
that
important.
goes miles. I mean, that goes miles because, like, we do recognize that, the wonders of science and modern medicine can be leveraged and help some couples that might not be able to have babies naturally have that, right? So we really do believe it's a personal choice, but understanding your unique body and
Mhm.
your partner's body and what your body needs more of and less of, that's like kind of the lens that we look at things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just that pulling in that whole lifestyle piece is so important. Mandy and I talk about this all the time. Is like, oh my gosh, yes, like if we just change this or help the couples change this aspect to, bring in more of the parasympathetic state in their life where they're more relaxed, and that's going to make such a big difference on their hormones and which hormones are produced, and having all the precursors to go to their sex hormones to help build up their estrogen or testosterone or whatever it might be, instead of things being used for your stress hormones, and just simple things like that. I mean, it seems simple, but lifestyle changes are hard, and I think that's why a lot of times it's either unknown or maybe not addressed, because it is really big undertaking for a lot of people.
Right, right. And I think like we want to frame it for people that like we support you no matter how fast or slow you want to go. Like everybody's on their own journey. And you know, we all have different things in our lives that can be overwhelming, be that family stressors, you know, caring for older parents or grandparents, like jobs can be extremely stressful. And so I really like we want to frame it for people that it's like one simple step at a time. Like it's these little health hacks that they can you know, put into their life that works for them and it doesn't feel overwhelming, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think that's the piece that comes in to have that community to know you have this support through Positivity Fertility of not only Dr. Mandy and myself, who we've had our own fertility journeys, and we have the professional background to help you from the scientific approach to fertility, but you also have the support of other couples that are going through very similar journeys. And for myself, I know that that was very powerful. My husband and I joined a donor support group because that's how we ended up having our baby Eva. And
Yes.
yeah, we joined this donor support group, which is just amazing to hear other couples and how their path to get to the donor egg, and then how are they coping with that, and how are they telling their family and friends, or who are they telling, and
Yeah.
how do you feel about it, and how are you planning on talking to your children to be about it. So many things that the community can just come together, and it's just amazing that those connections and how powerful that is.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit more about baby Eva because she's quite a modern miracle. So you were able to have Miles just naturally, you know, everything went really well with that pregnancy, but then you struggled and had to go through the miscarriage of Lily Rose, which was really hard. So let's talk about how you shifted and, you know, you were, you know, your biological clock was ticking and you guys landed on like, you know, using modern medicine to help achieve this pregnancy.
Right. I know. It's amazing to think IVF itself is amazing, right? Taking the woman's egg and the man's sperm and bringing it together, forming this embryo, and then implanting or transferring is the term they use, the
Yep.
embryo into the woman and for the mom to carry. Well, that is amazing in itself. But then to think, oh, okay, so like in the book we have for baby Eva, it's talking about the P that was me. So in the book it says this really nice woman donated her eggs because mommy's eggs didn't work, and basically that's what it was. A really nice donor. We never met her, we don't know
Sure.
her, she wants to be anonymous so we won't know her, donated eggs, and those eggs were fertilized by my husband's sperm in the lab, and then this beautiful little baby was made, and we have a picture of her as an embryo, and which I want to transfer into a painting. I guess a woman does
Oh,
this. She did
wow.
it
Yeah.
for a friend of mine that we met in the support group. But just so beautiful to think of. Oh my gosh, this modern medicine is right, like miracle. That made our baby Eva. So then she was transferred into, and we got the call that said the pregnancy test is positive, and we were just thrilled, the three of us, including our son, who was 6 at the time, or yeah, pretty close to it. Uh,
Yeah.
we were on that call. We are like, yay! So yes, truly a miracle, and amazing what science can do now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's so cool. And that's why, like, I really just want everyone that's out there that's struggling with fertility or have been on that journey for a while to, like, keep the hope and, you know, find a tribe of people that can support you and love on you and from a judgment-free zone, right? Because, you know, I think each of us chooses things differently in our lives for various reasons, but I think the most important thing is we're well aware of, you know, what are the positives and the benefits of, you know, doing reproductive technology and like, you know, in asking those questions of our providers so we understand the process. So, and for everyone on here, like I was actually blessed to meet Jeanie then when she was pregnant with Eva. So we were training together in functional medicine and fertility, and so I got to witness the whole thing, and it was so cool to see you to be able to have a healthy baby, and it went well. Like once you guys got past that, and I mean, you were. I'm trying to remember age wise when you actually did have Eva. You were was it
48.
48? That's what I thought.
Which
Yeah.
is amazing. And I really think that functional medicine and the holistic way of viewing life and trying to live my life as healthy as possible helped us to be able to do that at our
Yeah.
ages. I say our ages because my husband was basically the same age, 6 months older. So,
Yeah.
he was able to have healthy sperm to fertilize the egg. And then I was able to carry Eva and not have any trouble with anything health wise. It was amazing. I did have a cerclage because they think that's the reason we lost Lily Rose was my
Okay.
cervix was incompetent. So they put a little stitch in there, and then when they took the stitch out, they do that a little bit early just to be sure that my uterus isn't contracting against a closed cervix. Is when Eva came. So she came let's see, it was like 2.5 weeks before her due date because of that. But
Yep.
other than that, like a completely healthy, normal pregnancy. So I feel
Well,
very blessed. And I think a lot had to do with my training.
yeah. Well, and I think that's a really good point for people to understand from a reversing biological aging. You can do that. Like you can age in reverse. That whole theory is out there and it's true. And we see it time and time again when we work with clients to see what personalized medicine can do for them, right?
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
that's what's so fascinating, even about the field of nutrigenomics and genetics, which is a field that I'm in and teaching around. And so, I think it really does speak to like no matter where you're at on your journey right now, like you can always make positive changes and experience those in your overall health, which is the underpinnings of our program, right? Is
Right.
to help healthy individuals become healthy parents and have healthy babies for generations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that piece. I love thinking like not only are we helping a couple become healthy, but right, like Mandy said, generations to come. So those babies are going to grow up in a healthy atmosphere and then go on to have children themselves potentially, and then it'll just generation healthy. So
And
and then
I even see that with my kids. They've grown up in pretty much a holistic um family because I've been at this for quite a long time. And they'll have things that pop up, and teenagers are a little hard to like actually get them to recognize some benefits, right?
sure.
But what I've learned in my own life is leading by example, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't really ever miss a day of exercise, and if I do, it's for a really good reason. And it doesn't have to be like this uh oh process like where we have to work out an hour each day. It can literally be just going outside. Like it's a beautiful day here in Indiana today. Just going out in the sunshine, getting your sunshine on your skin, to boost your vitamin D levels, like decrease cortisol levels. And so like that is like the root of our program and helping people understand it doesn't have to be like all or in. Like you have to do like you have to go run a half marathon, right?
Right. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. We don't have to push our bodies. We can listen to them and we can do gentle movement. Yeah, and the the research behind movement in nature and the benefits of that are beautiful. And how easy is that? Like we can walk outside whatever building we're in and get something of nature. Even if we're in a city where there's not many trees, there's still the beautiful sky, whether it's filled with clouds, it's filled with sun, it's nature, and with the wind in our face, and just those
yeah.
pieces are amazing parts that can help us get healthy in such a easy, simple way.
Yeah. And I think like even as a doctor, like a conventional doctor, you like lived in that stress for so long. Like what was like that for you? What prompted you to want to go into like the field of more holistic medicine, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Well, honestly, yeah, I was inside a lot, and that was tough. I started my day very early in the morning because I was an anesthesiologist and surgery started early. So,
Yes.
some days I wouldn't even see the sunlight. I mean, how depressing is that? I would go in so early before the sun went up, and then I'd come home after the sun went down. And I was
Yeah.
also going to work and having to work some nights and weekends and not see my son and then get my circadian rhythm off because I am up in the middle of the night because I got called in for emergency C-section or got called in
Right.
for a lap appy that was an emergent, and just
Yeah.
having to go from being resting and sleeping to like, you're on, like, let's put this patient to sleep. And I was like, oh, okay. And just knowing that, like, this doesn't feel like it's very healthy for my body. And then at the same time, wondering, like, gosh, I have these two patients that look relatively healthy, but one has all these diagnoses and problems, and the other one doesn't. And why? Like, why is one person look like that when the other one doesn't? And with some of my mom's history, which I won't go into, I was like, oh, let me check out this functional medicine. They're talking about root cause, like maybe this will
Yeah.
answer some of those questions. And sure enough, I was like, oh yeah, we never learned this in allopathic medicine. I'm an
Yeah.
osteopathic physician, but pretty much the same thing. We learned some hands-on stuff and spiritual pieces to it in addition to the allopathic, but we
Sure.
really didn't look at root cause, like the why, like why are people having these problems?
Right, right. I know. I'm like, it's so cool though that like how functional medicine like came into your life when you were like starting to have children. Because I just think about being a mom and trying to juggle career wise, like all of those things is just exhausting, like thinking about it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and for even our listeners, like, so I was initially trained as an occupational therapist and worked in the hospital setting for many years, actually 23 to be exact. And I really like, I'm the same as you. Like, I would look at particular patients and think, like, why do they have so many things that, so many diagnoses, right? And what we've learned in our holistic training, being even Eastern trained to some extent, is that like over time, people like from an emotional, spiritual standpoint, like the body like can kind of trap those emotions and they can create imbalances in the body, right? And so, I was very aware of that, working in rehabilitation for so long and thinking this, I don't want this to be my like life path, right? So that's kind of where the pivot came for me and even our own family circumstances, some of my kids having health issues. And so, I think like for you and I both were just deeply passionate about this work because of what it has done in our own lives and like what we've discovered about ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a great point, Dr. Mandy, is another piece that makes our program so unique and special, I think, is that we do look at it, the spiritual aspect as well.
Yes.
Many times there are not only physical blocks to becoming pregnant, but spiritual blocks as well. For my husband and I believe that it was I lost hope at some point
Oh, yes.
after losing Lily Rose and then having all the failed IUI attempts. I was really getting to the place where I didn't have hope, and it
Yeah.
felt really yucky because I that it's not my normal personality, and but that's where I was, and I under understood looking back is I just needed to accept that and
Sure.
live in it for a bit and feel uncomfortable with it and give it over. So I feel like for a lot of couples there is a spiritual piece to this, and that Dr. Mandy and I are trained in body intuitive, and it's a technique that helps patients, like we all have the ability to heal ourselves, but sometimes these blocks come up. And so Dr. Mandy and I are trained to help with those blocks, identify them in some cases, in other cases, just help that help the couple or the person actually
process it, right? Yeah.
right, and and open up, I guess,
Oh
the
yeah.
those blocks places for them.
Yeah, I love that. And like I think that's like a piece that's been largely unaddressed in society, is that like emotional, psychological, you know, sometimes it can be trauma and grief and like so many things. So I like how you brought up the point of, just feeling hopeless, right? And those feelings are very, we're energetic beings. And so, like, going back to the one book is The Body Keeps Score, right? That our bodies do internalize that. And so those are things that we have to work through for our body to like find that balance again. And it manifests in different disease states, right, in the body. So we have all these diagnoses and names for imbalances, but from a holistic training standpoint, we just go back to there's imbalances in the body that need to be addressed, right?
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
and even that's where we even pull in homeopathic in treatments into our program. And from a homeopathic perspective, things heal in reverse order. And so the emotional, mental, psychological is what needs to be dealt with first. Then once you deal with those things, then you can go on to heal the physical parts of the being. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah, so like so we do really aim to get to the root cause of issues, right? That's what we do.
Yes.
We're like detectives. That's what I tell people. We're health detectives. So we go in and look at labs and we look at health histories and like really like aim to get the lived experience from the individual and the couple, right? Because we each have our own unique story and gifts and so many things that we can share with the world. And those we aim to really give and equip tools and information to couples to really empower them on their journey.
Yeah, I love how you put that because we all have our own gifts and our own personal story that's just beautiful, and it's so special that in positivity fertility we get to share that with other couples in a group, and then the group gets to benefit too from hearing all these beautiful stories and individual unique processes. And I think in that process they're able to love and nurture their own journey even more because they see the beauty in the other couples.
Yeah, I do love that. And like, they always say like your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And so, like, we've been taught and conditioned for so long to be disempowered and basically to look to doctors to heal ourselves, which, we really do firmly believe that people can be the CEOs of their own health, right? They are their own doctor because they know themselves more than anybody.
Yeah, I think it's so ingrained in you, Dr. Mandy, that you even said heal ourselves. But yeah, I think in general, a lot of our country looks at doctors for the doctor to heal them instead of
Yeah.
healing themselves, you know? But yeah, Dr. Mandy's right. Like we have the power inside us, you know, whether it's the spiritual power from above that's coming in and living inside us, but it's there. And to to have a group and practitioners like us to help the couples see that, like you have the ability to take your fertility health and journey into your own hands, and we're here to help you.
Yes. And like really if you look at the definition of doctor is teacher, right? And I really see us as guides on the journey, and we just really want people to experience and couples to experience something that we honestly wish we would have had for ourselves back then. And I know many of you guys have heard my story before, but after my first son, I actually did have a miscarriage before him, but I was told I would never have any more children. After his traumatic delivery, he was a 28 weeker, weighed a pound and 14 ounces. And so when we talk about modern miracles, medical miracles, my 22-year-old is living proof of what modern medicine can do. And I tell people all of the time, I'm deeply grateful because it saved his life. He was on life support for many months. And I experienced the grief of sitting in a NICU for many months by a very ill baby that honestly we didn't know if he was going to make it. And then to kind of be told, you won't have any more children was really hard. But with my own intuition and my faith, I, knew that that wasn't going to be my path, and I was going to figure out, how I could become the best healthy individual so I could have more children. And so, we both have unique stories that we bring and insights.
Yeah.
But Dr. Jeanie, what would you say, as far as with the program, um, who is our program for? Because I know people are thinking that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you're talking, I'm like, gosh, this is for everyone,
Yes.
honestly,
Yeah.
because, Dr. Mandy and I both have lived the program, meaning we've made these changes in our life. And a huge part of it is the lifestyle piece. What food we eat. Is it inflammatory? Well, if it's going to be inflammatory for most people, and specifically those people, we want to cut it out.
Yeah.
And then there's the sleep piece. Like, absolutely, that's when our body rejuvenates, and our sperm and our egg quality increase if we have good quality sleep. So we have to look at that and help tweak the things that we need to do to have that good quality 7 to 8, 9 hours of sleep a night. And then there's the stress piece. Are we stress resilient? Because life is gonna be stressful. Like, jobs, relationships, everything. Like,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a piece of stress. So we're not saying de-stress your life. Obviously, you can't do that. But it's stress resilience. How do we handle that? So Mandy and I, these techniques that we go over in the program, we've we live. We've changed our foods we eat at home. We've taken out toxic products, and all these things do take time and energy, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, but so worthwhile. So worthwhile. And more specifically, Dr. Mandy said, like, who is this for? So yes, in general, everyone can benefit, because you're gonna get healthy and feel good and live a healthier life. However, if you look at the fertility piece, which we love and is so important, it can benefit a lot of people as well. It's like, we work with couples that are not a couple, like, as we work with people that are maybe not in a relationship, but are like, well, I want to have children in the future. How do I preserve my fertility?
Yep.
Or I want to go ahead and get pregnant through the reproductive endocrinologist way, but I want to be successful with that. Here we are. We can help optimize your health for, and even if you are a couple, to optimize the egg and the sperm. If you decide you want to go the reproductive endocrinologist way, will increase your chances tremendously of being successful with it.
And that goes back to healthy DNA, right? I mean, it's like what you're like our bodies are like a garden. And what we're putting into our garden is really, really important, especially when we're looking at fertility.
Mhm.
So I like how you really brought up the important foundations, because what we find and what we found in our practice and our collective with other practitioners is simply honing in on those foundations can make a tremendous difference for couples. And that includes reducing inflammation in the body and supporting cellular function. So many things, so many times those things are missed in standard care in the conventional world. and I know even before this podcast, we were talking about, so we've got some couples that are going through IVF, and we know, both of us, that optimizing their health from a root cause standpoint and really creating a flourishing garden is going to help them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, and I like to preface too, like we are very realistic, like we are not perfect, and
Oh,
we really strive. Our message is progress over perfection.
yeah.
And again, everyone's on their own journey and have to go at their own pace, given what they have in their life at that time with the demands and expectations and all of those things. But I really firmly believe like one simple change at a time can make a tremendous impact on health.
Oh, I agree. And there's no guarantees in life, but our program has been so successful for women that are 38 and younger. It's in the 80%, like mid 80% success rate, which is amazing. So
Yes.
I think that in itself is so motivating to so many people. I mean, not just knowing that you're going to feel good and you're going to achieve a higher level of health, but knowing that you are very likely going to achieve your goal of having kids in a family. I think that's just so hopeful and beautiful and motivating.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point. I love that. And I think too, we really want couples to know that like, starting with us, it takes time. And so like we really recommend, pre-pregnancy planning needs to happen at least 6 months before trying. 12 months is even better. Average cell turnover in the body is like 90 to 120 days. So it takes time, like whenever you're tending to a garden and you got to put some fertilizer on it, give it some water, give it some TLC, like, tender loving care. And so, that's where we come in and we serve as guides and helping them along that journey, right?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a big question we get. So, are we able to keep trying while we're working through this program? Do we not try? Or what do we do? Well, we recommend definitely, well, there's a short period of time depending on how quickly couples change things and where they are and their specific journey, but we want to lie the foundation needs to be down before we go into the detox. So depending like a week or two or sometimes a bit more for the foundations, and then as soon as we can get to the detox, the better, as far as if a couple wants to be moving quickly because
Yes.
we need to the couple to get through the detox their home, and a physical detox that we can tweak depending on the couple or the individual person. And then we need to, like Dr. Mandy said, we need some time for cell turnover. So we want to make sure we're getting the healthiest egg and the healthiest sperm, and they're not the egg and sperm that were sitting there through the detox and being exposed to any chemicals our body was or were excreting or trying to get rid of.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, Dr. Jeanie, as we wrap up today, what wisdom would you impart to the listeners as they continue to navigate, their own health journey, their fertility journey? What would be like one piece of advice on where you would encourage them to start?
Hmm. Wow, that's a big question because there's so many important things that we could do.
No, right?
Two things came to mind,
Okay, tell
and
us too.
yeah, I will just throw it out there. One
Yeah.
is BBT charting for women. I think that is amazing, and I, with my own daughter Eva, I
Yes.
think about it, and when she starts her cycle, I'm gonna put it out there because it's just so fascinating and a wonderful way for us to learn our body and to respect it and admire, like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful system that is happening to allow us to become pregnant rather than looking at the negative aspects of it. So basal body temperature charting your temperature same time every morning before you get out of bed. We can go into more detail with you to help you out on that. But
Which is tapping into that fifth vital sign. It's been called the fifth vital sign, sixth vital sign. whatever, it's a vital sign, right? And as doctors, we really love vital signs. Like we want to know what's going on in the body. And so that's like, and it's so funny that you bring this up because I've three daughters and one daughter's having some migraines. And so I was talking to her about, well, let's like look at your cycle and see what's going on in your cycle, because that can give us so many clues on what's going awry in the body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. I love that. And then the
Yeah.
other thing that came to mind when you're like, where do we start? Is for me personally, and everyone's a bit different, of course, but meditation has made a huge difference in my life. And when we talk about stress resilience, I love that piece. And there is a huge amount of research on the benefits of meditation, including reversing the aging process, so to speak, when we were talking about that earlier.
Yep.
It, there's been studies where they do MRIs of the brain and they're able to see actually an increase in the gray matter of our brain, which normally decreases as we age. And it
Yep.
has increased in people in the meditation group when they compared it to the control group. So I just that's just one aspect of the benefits of meditation, and I just think it's such a beautiful, simple. I mean, simple in the way that you don't need to put a lot of time or money into it. You do need to put time. You
Right.
schedule
Right.
the time and sit down and do it. The technique I use is 15 minutes in the morning, 15 in the afternoon. I don't always get to both of them, but it's made a huge difference in my life. So I always like to share that piece.
I absolutely love that. And like, I feel like my spirituality practice, like my prayer life, is so important. And frankly, like, I don't know what my life would be like if I didn't have that. It really does keep me grounded. And like it's tapping into that inner intuition, like that, from a
Mhm.
God standpoint in our bodies, and like, really just respecting us as individuals, right? So I love that you brought that point up, because I've found that tremendously helpful as well. And I think teaching our kids that, because we're such a stressed out society, um, and like having three kids that have special needs, that's been like one thing that like I've really had to help them through, is like calming themselves and coming to a place of just calmness, right? And just that can make a huge difference.
No, I agree. In our society, from what I've experienced, it's hard to find that and to make time for it. And I think I think this is changing, but it in the past, at least the way I grew up, it's not as valued and
Yeah.
respected, unfortunately. But I think that is changing, and I love that we can bring that to our kids, and it's such a wonderful tool for them. I think all kids, I know my son for sure benefits when we start to talk about it, and he even wanted to buy these mindful cards, and
Oh yeah.
so cool.
Well, that's even like kind of digging into, which we won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but Bruce Lipton, like he talks about the biology belief and like our cellular health, like us being energetic beings, like they can see, you can see like the stress's impact on the actual cell, which kind of gets off into the aging and fertility space as well, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's a really, really important practice too.
Yeah.
um you know try out, right? Like I know it can be like overwhelming for some people to like be quiet, but honestly, I think it's just a matter of finding a quiet, safe space. Be it meditation or prayer or like whatever that looks like for an individual, to calm their body and calm their mind and really just tap into that intuition can make a huge difference. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And your mind doesn't have to, it's not going to be quiet. Like that was one thing I don't think I really understood at first is like, oh, but I have these thoughts. And yeah, somebody explained it to me as, well, your heart's not going to stop beating. Hopefully not. Like that's what it does. It beats. Like in our
right.
mind, it's not going to stop thinking and having thoughts. That's what it does.
Yes.
And it's just being quiet is a chance to like, oh, I see the thought. It's going to go because I'm not going to focus on it because I'm here just sitting and being quiet.
Right, right. Well, we're so glad you guys joined us today. We could share with you for hours on end. Jeanie and I love to chat all things holistic fertility. And so we really hope you guys will join us for our upcoming webinars. That will be May the 7th and May the 9th. You can go to our website, positivityfertility.com. We have a fertility symptom questionnaire there. So if you want to gauge and find out what your level of health is, that's a really great tool that we spent a lot of time creating for you. So, Jeanie, I am so excited about this launch. I don't know about you, but
Oh my goodness, me too. We can't wait to meet you all. Come join us.
yep. Thanks so much, guys. You made it to the end of the episode. Let's keep this Gutsy Fertility Party going with some next steps to empower you along your wellness journey.